everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, picking up where we left off at the Macalister River. So yeah, you might remember from the last video, Luke and I just stopped here next to the Macalister River that is very, very low at the moment, just down near the campsites at the end of Butcher Country Track where the northern end of Macalister River Track actually starts. So yeah, we just stopped here for half hour or so for a quick easy lunch break and just turning around here on all these rocks. Basically the further out from the bank you go, the rockier it gets, so a bit of a 4-point turn there to turn around and get closer back to the bank where it's slightly less rocky, so that we can head back up to the campsite and be on our way. So there goes Luca. I was just waiting, giving him a little bit of space before following him back up to the campsite myself so we can continue south on the Macalister River Track. Nice easy climb back up out of here. And it seems like the guys who are camping here have actually returned to have some lunch. So rather than driving right through their campsite, we've driven around them to give them a bit of space, and then Lucas pulled up. So that's Butcher Country Track straight ahead there up that hill, and we're heading south on the Macalister River. So yeah, Lucas just pulled up there so I could pull in front. It's not too long at all when you come to the first crossing, which is certainly down a lot from when we were here last. I think last time we were here there was a couple of guys on the right hand side there, little campfire, and they were fishing. This could even be the crossing where we actually pulled up for our lunch stop on the rocks on the left hand side there, but yeah, the water was probably a good couple of feet deeper than what it is currently. So low. So slow and steady over the rocks there to continue our way south on the Macalister River. Now I don't show that much of the Macalister River Track in this video because if you really want to see Macalister River Track, check out the video that we posted from our January trip sort of 18 months prior to this, although the bog hole that you'll see in that video is basically no longer here anymore. Other than that, track conditions haven't really changed all that much on this track. Over that time, just the one large bog hole has been largely dried up, which you will see when we get to it. Another cracking little crossing here that's certainly looked very different with a little bit more water in it. As you can see, very shallow. I think a lot of this rock here might have been dumped here. I don't remember there being such a big pile up of rock here at this entrance or exit, depending which way you're coming. So I feel like maybe there's been some track maintenance done, and this rock's been put here to stabilise the entrance and exit. Either way, the track's in quite good condition, very drivable. Keeping in mind this was filmed back in March and it will be November when it actually goes to air. Now this is where this whole area here was a massive big bog hole. There's still a little bit of a bog hole there on the right, as you can see. I was going to sneak past on the left, but I thought better of it. It was just a little bit more off camber than I was wanting to tackle, so decided to go back to the right hand side because there really isn't any mud to speak of compared to, you know, when I just about buried the patch in here 18 months prior. So it just needs a little bit of a bump there. The tyres were just up against a small little step, just a little bit of momentum and a little bit of a bump, and up we go. One of those situations where if I had a diff lock, it would have just driven straight up there. Traction control and more modern vehicle would also do the same thing for you. Pretty good time here along the Macalister River track. This section's a little bit chewed up there, particularly on the left, as you can see. But this is a rarity for this track. Most of it is in really good condition, and you can keep a pretty good clip as you make your way along. You just need to keep an eye out for changes in track condition like that. Making good time here as we're working our way south through the various river crossings of the Macalister River, and I think we're about to come up to another one just here. Again, just very low, and so many more rocks, particularly larger rocks than I remember from previous crossings. So, you know, these are going to get pretty lumpy when the water levels do rise and you can't see some of those rocks, because at the moment the water's clear, it's, you know, fairly still. You can see through it quite easily. The line choice is very apparent, but a bit more water in there, a bit more depth, a bit less clarity, and you know, if it's running over those rocks and churning up a bit, the line choice is not going to be quite as apparent. Campsite there on the left hand side, nice and close to the river, and yeah, not very long at all, and we're at our next crossing, if you can call it that. Like, the Macalister River was, you know, it's a decent sized river when we were last in this area, and it's barely a little stream at the moment. Again, this crossing is much rockier than I remember it being. Do find yourself here though after a bit of rain. I would expect to see the levels a little higher. They weren't what you would call deep last time we were here, but they were certainly noticeably higher than what we're seeing here, like by a good couple of feet. That depth is, I don't think it even makes it to the rims on the wheels, to be honest. I think it's barely touching the sidewalls of the tyres. Come to another crossing. As I said, guys, apologies for the camera. The Hero 7 in bright light seems to be flaring out, so it's making things a lot wider than they actually are. Certainly not a difficult crossing in the current depth there either. It's very rocky. We are up to that section where, yeah, it's only literally 150 metres or so, and we're at the next crossing. Right, there were no cuts between that. That was real time. Now this is the crossing where you actually drive into the river and then you drive down the river and then exit on the far side. This is a lot of fun to drive. Last time we were here, this time it's kind of like, hey, where do I find a line that dodges some of those big rocks? And that's what I'm thinking about as I'm sort of waiting here, figuring out where I'm going to go. You can see those reasonably large rocks, two of them there on the left that I'm avoiding. And then there's another one here that I'm just looking to pick my way between. And yeah, this little drive through here is definitely lumpier than it was last time, that's for sure. And another good sized rock there on the left near the exit. Possibly when this gets a bit more traffic over it, some of those lumps and bumps will get smoothed out. And once again, I feel like this exit's had some repair work done in putting those rocks in place. Yeah, one of those times where you unexpectedly meet someone coming the other way. He was moving along at a good clip too, but he's very quick to back up and make some room for us. Didn't even have a chance to sort of see what he wanted to do. He was very, very quick to move over. I find most people you run into on the tracks are really accommodating. Yep, he's well and truly created some space for us there, and fellow 76 driver.
Nice car, mate.
Mutual Appreciation Society there with 76 owners. I think you know, whatever car we drive, we all tend to, you know, be pleased when we run into people driving the same make and model. A little bit of a lumpy section in the track here, just nothing difficult, but something you don't want to hit doing 30 kilometres an hour, that's for sure. And yes, what a surprise, yet another crossing in the Macalister. Did have some footage here from Luca, which his camera wasn't flaring out like his GoPro. So, like my GoPro, I should say. So, I've used the footage from Luca's onboard camera instead of my GoPro footage. And again,
Macalister River, by Cropies it's changed. It's really low, but the rocks are enormous that have been washed into the tracks.
Rocky.
Yeah, there was certainly another lumpy crossing there, that's for sure. The exit here was a little soft last time, this time it's not, but you can certainly see how it could get that way. And you're very quickly back onto a fairly well-made gravel road. So, having reached the end of the Macalister River track, we're now on to Black Soil Gully Track, which climbs up and away from the Macalister River. Again, if you saw our video from January 2023, when we published that sometime through January, we've seen this track previously. It hasn't changed a lot. Again, it's one of those tracks that when it's dry like this, it is a pretty easy drive. It's got a bit of a clay base though, so not something you'd want to tackle in the rain really at all, or when it was very wet. Consequently, this track is seasonally closed during that seasonal closure period from sort of June long weekend through to end of October, beginning of November. So by the time you're watching this, it will be reopened again. And you certainly see a few ruts and also just some erosion caused by water running down the track in some reasonably steep tracking sections. The Black Soil Gully Track, and it's about a 7-kilometre run from here up to the road, which is McMillan Spur Road. You can see sections like this are quite rutted, and I think a lot of that is actually water erosion. Probably started off by tyres. Certainly an option there to span that though and not make too much of an issue out of it at all. Again, another fairly well rutted section of track there, but easy to span. Your experience through here would be very different if you were coming through when there'd been a bit of rain, that's for sure. Generally making pretty good time through here. And you know, if you're coming out the end of the Macalister River track, there's really nowhere else to go. Once you get up onto McMillan Spur Road, you've got options of heading back north, heading south. Yeah, if you're going to do Macalister River, you're either coming in on this track or you're coming out on this track. So evidence on this section of track of it having been fairly soft, but not today when we're driving it, that's for sure. Good steady little climb up out of here. And just dropped into the ruts there for a minute, but when they're nice and dry like this, climbing back up out of them is a lot easier than when they're wet and slippery, that's for sure. And a bit of a little erosion gully there across the bottom. Not one you want to take too fast. Coming in here to one of the switchbacks, not uncommon with your high country tracks, as you all know. And yeah, basically climbing our way up the side of the range here. So I think you get the idea as to why you wouldn't want to be tackling this track in rain or in wet conditions. This section here is fairly steep, and it is still a bit of a clay base as well. So I think you're getting the idea of how we're zigzagging our way up. We're almost at the top of the range here. We just get over just the other side to get onto the McMillan Spur Road. Every time you think you're done, there is just that one last little bit of hill to climb. Coming up here on the left is a track to Mount Lookout. I don't think that's private property. I've never done that little track to Mount Lookout, and so I can't say whether there's views there. You'd like to think with a name like Mount Lookout that there actually is, but yeah, it is marked on the HEMAs, but as being not too far off the main track, we've just never done it. So yeah, not surprisingly, not far past that, we've reached the end of Black Soil Gully Track, and we're turning left onto McMillan Spur Road. We were kind of making this trip up as we went along because I was heading home and Luca was staying out for another day on the tracks. So when we got down here, we did decide that rather than pushing to Lycola, which is a long way from where I need to be in Albury, we'd go somewhere we hadn't been before. So we turned right here onto McMillan Spur Track, although at this section it could be Middle Bridge Road. I'm just not sure. It's a 4 kilometre section anyway, and this first 4 kilometre section is reasonably steady climb up and generally a good two-wheel drive gravel road pretty much. Fairly scenic in sections, as you will see. Works its way nicely along the side of one of the valleys, and you do get some tracking views. Like, I love tracks like this where you've got a big rock face on one side, massive drop off on the other, and great views out across the valley. I mean, that's, how good is that? This was a nice little gem to find coming this way, so to me it's worth the drive on this, just for the view along this section, because it's not just one spot. Like, every time you get to an end here where you've got to turn around, the view changes, reasonably sharp 180s there, as you can see, and the camera's even catching some of that view, which tells you with your own naked eyes you're going to see a great vista coming along here. There's not that many trees right next to the track because it falls off so steeply, so for a lot of it you do get to really enjoy the view. And yeah, the rock walls along the side are just awesome. You know, you think about the amount of work that's gone in back in the day to cut tracks like this in, and it would have been all done manually. They wouldn't have cut these in with a, D12 bulldozer or something like that. It would have been manual work. And yeah, these switchbacks aren't always terribly long. See here the next bit of road down below you there, heading away. Again, a little bit tight there, but I'm pretty sure we kept all the wheels on the track. Working our way down this side of the range though into the valley. And most of this, as I said, it's sort of a two-wheel drive gravel road. Just crossing a little stream here, quite a well-made bridge, so not even a ford or a river crossing to have to worry about. We've got a bridge here to get across it. I think that guy was fishing, who was parked up there on the other side. sort of rock steps, but nothing too difficult as we come up from that bridge and continue on the main track. So here we're keeping left to stay on McMillan Spur Track, and that's Middlebridge Road on the right. So this is now a 5 kilometre section of track, and basically it goes up. It's about an 800 metre vertical climb over 5 kilometres, which is pretty nuts. This was quite a fun drive. It's not an overly difficult track at all. So again, I definitely recommend, if you're in the area, check this one out. It was just a really good steady climb, and you know, certainly not as difficult as Billy Goat Bluff or anything like that. There's a few little steps here and there, and a few little wombat holes starting to form, but really it was not what you would call a difficult track. It's marked on the HEMA as an easy track, and I think that's probably reasonable given the track condition at the time that we drove it. You certainly want to be in low range for the climb, but yeah, you don't need to be too worried about having particularly high clearance or anything like that. Yeah, it just keeps going up and up. That fisheye effect on the GoPro lens as you go over those humps is almost a bit disconcerting. Still trending upwards here, albeit at a reduced gradient, and that's what you find. You get some sections that are a very slight, gentle incline, and then they're sort of offset with areas that are, twice as much, if not more. So, good steady climb from this part, that's for sure. Sections like this where you get a long, straight, steady climb. The track's in quite good condition, and you can just see that climb ahead of you as you keep going. And every time you think you get into the top, you sort of come around the corner and then realise that there's going to be more ahead of you. One of the very few sort of downward sections here. We're back into it and continuing upwards, ever upwards. So if you like driving reasonably steep tracks, but don't want the risk associated with something like Billy Goat, or even to a lesser extent something like Blue Rag, this is a pretty easy drive. As you see there, one oncoming, he was very quick to move over for us, and it was a nice easy pass. He's a very alert driver. picture by now. But this was a really fun drive because you were able to maintain a decent pace. So although it probably feels very long watching the video, and hats off if you're still tuned in, guys, because most people don't watch this far into the videos, so really appreciate those that do. And this section of track actually went pretty quick when you were driving it because you could maintain a decent sort of pace, so you were sort of watching the track and moving ahead and watching for any obstacles that might pop up, keeping in mind neither Luke nor I had driven this track before, so we really had no idea what to expect. And I don't know exactly what happened there. I just seemed to suddenly lose traction or something. So I really don't know what caused that. Probably driver error more than anything. This section is a little bit more lumpy just through there than the rest of the track, but I wouldn't have thought enough to put me up quite that much. But definitely getting close to the top now. As I said, this section is only 5 kilometres. This brings us out onto the Jameson-Lycola Road, and nice sized tree there with just enough room to get past it. Funny how that always seems to be the way. And in this particular instance, we headed north on the Jameson-Lycola Road. Luca found himself a campsite there on one of the river bends towards Jameson, and I continued home back to Albury, having to catch up on some work the next day, so dodging the odd tree fall there. So this is the last video for this particular trip. As always, it's been a pleasure sharing these trips with you guys, and I really appreciate the comments and feedback, and I do respond to all of those personally. Please like this video if you liked it. If you like what we do and you enjoy our videos, please support the channel by subscribing. It's great if you can turn on that notifications bell as well. That way you'll always know when we upload new content to the channel. So thanks so much for watching, guys. As I said, particularly if you've watched this far to the end. And yeah, well, there we are on Jameson-Lycola Road, ready to head north and find Luca a campsite on the river. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks very much.